Welcome, I'm Christine Manning with the Wine Education Institute. Thank you for joining me on today's advanced tour of Bordeaux. Bordeaux was a vital trading port for the Romans beginning in 60 BCE due to its location on the Gironde Estuary. Here, where the Garonne and Dordogne rivers converge, marks the termination of a vast river system that serves almost half of France. These waterways were very important before any reliable road systems were developed. Along with carrying important trade items, wine could reach beyond this part of the empire. Add on access to Limousin forests, and you can understand how crafting wines from a blend of local grapes and storing them in oak barrels has been important to this region for millennia. Bordeaux is the largest appellation in France and the historical home of some of the world's most prestigious red wines, as well as arguably the world's most famous dessert wine. Its global reputation rests on high production volumes and many famous names. Today, we are decoding the key elements that define this region: the geographical split between the left and right banks, the dominance of blended black grapes like Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot, and the notoriously complex classification systems that govern quality and price. Thank you for joining me. Let's dive in. Bordeaux benefits from a moderate maritime climate, heavily influenced by its proximity to the Atlantic Ocean and the warming effect of the Gulf Stream. This oceanic influence provides a long growing season, often extending well into October, allowing late ripening grape varieties to reach full maturity. The region's defining geographical feature, the Gironde Estuary, formed by the convergence of the Garonne coming in from the south and the Dordogne coming from the east. This estuary creates two distinct zones: the left bank, situated south along the west of the Gironde, and the right bank, located further east and on the north side of the Dordogne. A simpler way to think about this is if you were to visualize standing in the estuary with your back at the current looking up at the Atlantic. What is on your right-hand side is the right bank, and everything on the left side is the left bank. Due to high rainfall, winemakers must manage vineyard variability and ensure grapes ripen fully, despite these wet conditions. At this level, be sure you can identify growing challenges in a damp climate. Those may be things like rot, dilute flavors, or issues with flowering or fruit set. Climate plays a key role in the varieties grown and styles of Bordeaux. Because of the wet conditions and varying soil type, Bordeaux red wines are almost always blends of several black grape varieties. The composition of the blend is largely determined by the dominant soil type in each subregion. We will focus on four major red varieties, starting with Cabernet Sauvignon, which is a late ripening variety and dominates on the gravelly, well-drained soils of the Haut-Médoc, or the left bank. While you might think that rocky soil might be colder, stony soil keeps the roots just a little bit drier than moisture-holding clay-based soil. Enough so, it makes a difference in ripening time. This soil helps Cabernet Sauvignon produce wines that are high in tannin and acidity and are deeply colored, making them suitable for long-term aging. Merlot is the most widely planted black grape in Bordeaux. It thrives in the cooler, wetter, clay soils of the right bank. In appellations like Saint-Émilion and Pomerol, Merlot will dominate a blend. It contributes softness and a juicy fruit flavor. Cabernet Franc is widely grown in Saint-Émilion and Pomerol as well. Cab Franc ripens earlier than Cabernet Sauvignon, and when it ripens fully, it provides complex and vibrant fruit, soft floral and herbal notes. Although unripe, Cab Franc can be green and herbaceous and a little stocky in flavor. And finally, Petit Verdot, which is deeply colored and is high tannins that typically plays a minor role in a blend. It can contribute spice notes, particularly in a high-volume red wine. It is less frequently grown, though, as it's hard to get fully ripe in this climate. From white grapes, Bordeaux produces both dry and sweet wines, primarily using three grape varieties. Sémillon is a thin-skinned variety, and it is essential for the sweet wines of Sauternes because it is highly susceptible to noble rot or botrytis. It is also blended with Sauvignon Blanc for dry white wines. Speaking of dry wines, Sauvignon Blanc is important for high-quality dry whites. It provides high acidity and pronounced aromatic fruit flavors like grapefruit and can have grassy notes as well. Lastly, used only as a minor component, muscadel contributes pleasant floral and grapey aromas to a white wine blend. The Bordeaux region utilizes multiple classification systems, established at different times and applying to different regions. We will start by looking at 3 sub-regional specific systems and then move to the broader regional terms. First, the 1855 classification, or Grand Cru Classes, and the Medoc. This is the most famous classification and, with few exceptions, classifies individual estates, or chateaux, rather than vineyard plots. This system came about in 1855 when Napoleon III wanted a ranking of Bordeaux's wines to showcase at the Paris Universal Exposition. While these are undeniably special and important wines, this classification only included wine from the Médoc, the left bank, and dessert wines from Sauternes and Barsac, and from a single point in time. Chateaux in this ranking can carry the term Grand Cru Classes. Within this, there are 5 established ranks for red wines, Premier, Deuxième, and so on, and 3 for white. Since this classification was limited, a newer system, Cru Bourgeois, was introduced to incorporate other highly ranked wines. This classification system classifies wines that were not included in that original 1855 classification. It was an attempt to set classifications on wines independent of popularity through blind tastings and apply to high-quality estates, primarily in the Médoc. The Cru Bourgeois system is reviewed every 5 years. The Medoc classification is integrated into the French AOC system. Located on the left bank, the lower or bas Médoc is closer to the Atlantic and with it a bit more clay soil than further south on the left bank. As you go south or upstream and gain small elevation, we have the Haut-Médoc, or high, indicating that rise in ground level. A Premier Grand Cru Classes can be found here, and wines may have commune name listed or specific chateaux like Saint-Estèphe, Pauillac, Margaux, and Saint-Julien. All of these tend to have high percentages of Cabernet Sauvignon and lots of new French oak showing black currant and cedar notes, and are usually meant to age. Our second classification system to discuss are wines from Graves. Further down the left bank, heading south, we have the Graves region, which gets its name from its gravelly soil. Haute-Brion is located in this region and is one of the ranked wines from the 1855 classification. Aside from this house, Graves has its own highly exclusive classification system, with only 14 chateaux that can carry Grand Cru Classé de Graves name on it. This can include wines from black and white grapes. And important to note that all of these ranked 14 chateaux are within the smaller Pessac-Léognan region. Wines made in Graves that are not Grand Cru Classes can use the term Cru Classé thanks to their own separate ranking system. Some of the most prestigious dry white wines in Bordeaux hail from here, featuring Sauvignon Blanc and Sémillon. These can be pronounced enough to be aged in new oak. While we are on that southern left bank, we have to look at our famous Sauternes region and Barsac within it. Located within the Graves region, wines from Sauternes and Barsac use Sauvignon Blanc, Sémillon, and some muscadel. There's also a little river Gironde that enters the Gironde, making for the perfect misty morning needed for botrytis to grow. In seasons when botrytide grape supply is low, wine growers will dry grapes out on the vine, a method known as passerillage. Noble rot wines or air-dried wines will be lusciously sweet with apricot and honey flavors, yet still have lively acidity from Sauvignon Blanc and Sémillon, and maybe some floral perfumed aromas from muscadel. All will be balanced with vanilla and toast from new oak. Delicious. We're almost there. Lastly, the Saint-Émilion Grand Cru classification. Crossing the Gironde River and further down south where the tributaries come into the east, we find Saint-Émilion. The Saint-Émilion classification system is integrated directly into the Bordeaux AOC, but within that there is a separate Saint-Émilion Grand Cru classification, which came about 100 years after the 1855 classification. In this Grand Cru Classes ranking, there are different levels. Premier Grand Cru Classes, higher up Premier Grand Cru Classes B, and Premier Grand Cru Classes A. Good thing you can hit pause and rewind, right? Interestingly, Grand Cru producers in Saint-Émilion can purchase vineyards that are not Grand Cru Classes and have them absorbed into their Grand Cru Classes. Unlike the fixed 1855 classification, the Saint-Émilion classification is reviewed at least once every 10 years and applies some stringent regulations and production and aging requirements. Wines can be demoted and promoted as well. Also along the right bank next to Saint-Émilion is Pomerol. Don't confuse Pomerol with Pommard in Burgundy. Pomerol has the same letters as Merlot in it, if that helps you remember, but don't let those two trip you up on a test. Pomerol has a similar reputation to Saint-Émilion without the classification layers and can have some more spicy, rich blackberry characters to their wines. Both of these locations are getting into some hills and plateaus that have gravel and limestone soils. Merlot dominates, but we can also see Cab Franc and Cab Sauvignon. This area was also the initial home of the Vin de Garage movement. This movement focused on tiny vineyards, meticulously managed in garages to ensure quality. Despite the location of the sorting table, these wines are intensely concentrated, approachable, and aged in new oak. Let's look through the lens of our French hierarchical appellation system and take a broader look at the regional appellations now that we've made it through those specifics. Traveling up north along the right side of the bank, across the Gironde from the Médoc, we have a number of Côte de Bordeaux regions. These are predominantly clay soil, Merlot dominant, easy to drink, young Bordeaux. We do see some rosés coming out of here as well. There is the generic Bordeaux classification and an additional Bordeaux Supérieur classification. The Supérieur refers more to vinification requirements rather than signifying a superior style or grape quality. Supérieurs will have a higher minimum alcohol and with a bit stricter production methods. In between the Gironde and Dordogne, or between the two seas, we have Entre-deux-Mers, a large regional floodplain near the convergence of our rivers. Here, rolling hills with soils of clay, limestone, and gravel produce lots of crisp white wine. Styles will be Sauvignon Blanc dominant, mostly unoaked and ready to drink upon release. Entre-deux-Mers can only be used for whites. Any reds from this region would carry a broader appellation like Bordeaux. Our final topic worth diving deeper into in Bordeaux is winemaking. Bordeaux's maritime climate can lead to challenges in ripening. That, coupled with a rich history as an export port for much of France, is why blending has been practiced here for centuries. Although modern viticultural practices and a warming climate have reduced the need for outside wine to be added, which now, of course, is also illegal, although some still get caught doing it even just a few years ago. I digress. Blending grapes in Bordeaux is a key topic to understand, and you should be fully prepared for a test question on it. As already mentioned, we see a blend of grape varieties for both red and white wines. Additionally, Bordelais use a variety of fermentation vessels, and components may be fermented separately, depending on when the fruit is ripe. Sometimes blending is done in the spring, following the harvest. Sometimes the components are kept and aged separately for longer periods and then blended. The best quality wines will age in 225-liter Limousin new barriques. Others may go into previously used oak, and while some may not have any oak aging at all. Our famous chateaus will have all of these components to choose from when crafting their offerings. They will take the best of the best to make the best wine that they can. These Grand Vins, or best wines, will have the price to match. If there is some left over, it can be made into a second label, and maybe even into a third. Other times, surplus may be sold off to a négociant. The practice of buying in grapes from different regions within Bordeaux is common. All of these practices come from tradition and is built on the need to use a number of varietals with different ripening attributes that are adapted to the climates and the varying soil compositions found across Bordeaux. Bordeaux is a region where the moderate maritime climate forces precise blending, resulting in wines defined by the careful balance of primarily Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, or Sauvignon Blanc and Sémillon. Understanding a Bordeaux label means deciphering not just the appellation, but also which of the multiple complex classification system from Cru Classé to Cru Bourgeois applies to that chateau. In your studies, be sure you are familiar with the key differentiating factors for left bank and right bank appellations. Be prepared to know which grape would be dominant in a named Haut-Médoc or right bank appellation, and prepare to take this knowledge deeper into understanding why certain varieties dominate those styles and why blending is used. Bonne chance. Thank you for joining me. Cheers.